The room was dimly lit, with a soft glow radiating from the intricate alien decorations adorning the walls. On the polished, metallic tables sat an assortment of what the human thought were traditional diplomatic foods. The scent of strange spices filled the air, but the human didn't mind. He was just happy to be here. He had been chosen for this exchange program because of his charming personality and quick wit. Sure, he didn't know much about alien customs, but what could go wrong? He was confident. He was ready for whatever the Galaxian Empire had to throw at him. At least, that's what he told himself when he boarded the shuttle. Now that he was seated across from a beautiful, tall, and elegant alien princess, he wasn't quite so sure. Her eyes glimmered like the stars outside, but there was something in her gaze that unsettled him. So, the human began, hoping his voice didn't betray the nervousness he was trying to hide. What exactly are we doing here? I thought I was just here to talk trade. You know, good food, good conversation? The princess tilted her head, looking at him with an expression he couldn't quite place. She had a soft, knowing smile, but it wasn't one of those polite diplomatic smiles. No, this one was different. Almost mischievous. She straightened herself and looked him over. I'm glad you're here, she said, her voice smooth, almost sultry. We've heard much about your species. They say humans are very passionate. And that they, well, enjoy eating. The human paused, momentarily confused. Eating? He asked, his eyebrows furrowing. Yeah, I mean, we all need to eat, right? It's a basic thing, isn't it? The princess leaned forward slightly, her gaze not leaving his. You understand, of course, that it's customary for your kind to eat each other in your courtship rituals? His brain momentarily short-circuited. Wait, what? He sputtered. Eat each other? Courtship? She smiled again, but this time it was more like a cat with a mouse. Yes. We've seen the Earthling documentaries. The way humans bond, by devouring each other's flesh, in a very intimate way. He stared at her, blinking several times. The words were still processing in his brain. Wait. You think I'm going to, eat you? He glanced at the food on the table, suddenly feeling the strangest mix of embarrassment and confusion. He had no idea what was going on anymore. The princess laughed lightly, but there was a sharpness to it. Of course. It's a sacred tradition. It's how your kind expresses love, is it not? They say humans eat their lovers to bond. To claim them. The human's face reddened, both from embarrassment and from the absurdity of the situation. He shook his head, trying to process the meaning of her words. No, that's not it at all, he exclaimed, fumbling with his words. I mean, sure, we eat together, like on dates, but, not like that. I mean, no one's actually, what do you mean, devour? Her eyes glittered with amusement, but there was something else in them too, something that looked a lot like anticipation. You don't eat like that? I see. She stood up and began to move slowly around the table, the hum of her voice like a purring sound in the back of her throat. I've heard stories. Your species, you act all civilized, but I think we both know there's a wildness inside you, yes? The human opened his mouth to argue but closed it again. Was she just messing with him? He couldn't be sure, but her intensity was becoming overwhelming. Look, he said, wiping his sweaty palms on his pants. I get that there's a cultural exchange thing going on here, and I'm really happy to be part of it, but eating each other? I just don't think that's what we do. I mean, I've never seen anyone do that in a restaurant. His voice was desperate now, searching for a way out of this nightmare. The princess finally sat back down, the smile still playing on her lips. You misunderstand, she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. I didn't mean it in a literal sense. But we Galaxians believe the ultimate form of bonding is a shared meal. You see, humans devour each other metaphorically, emotionally, spiritually, as a way to connect. The human blinked. Wait. Are you saying you didn't mean that I'm supposed to eat you? Like eat you in that way? Her eyes flashed with a mix of pride and amusement. Oh no. I meant it in the most intimate sense. Your kind bonds through physical closeness, through the sharing of the most personal things. But perhaps I misunderstood. It is your culture that is so complicated, no? Well, yeah, I guess you could say that, he muttered, still trying to make sense of this whole thing. Then you do understand, she continued, her voice calm again, almost coaxing. How could I have been so foolish to think you meant anything less? Surely I was mistaken. But it does explain your behavior, your obsession with closeness. Earth is fascinating, isn't it? The human let out a long breath of relief and realized he was smiling a little too much. Yeah, Earth is, fascinating, all right. And just as the awkward silence threatened to fill the room, the princess leaned forward, her eyes glinting with mischief. So, no eating, but perhaps a different kind of feast, then? One that involves just the two of us? His jaw dropped, and his brain halted as the realization hit him like a brick wall. You're serious? He asked, hoping it wasn't happening. The princess laughed again, leaning back in her chair with a satisfied grin. Of course. Who said anything about a traditional meal? The human's mind was racing. He had no idea how he had gotten here, but somehow, he was about to have dinner with an alien princess who had just implied some of the most awkward things he could imagine. Was this how intergalactic diplomacy worked? Was every alien culture this strange, or had he just drawn the short straw? He cleared his throat and tried to focus. Look, I really think I've misunderstood here. I thought this was a diplomatic dinner, just food, right? That's it. Nothing more. He gave her a nervous smile, hoping he wasn't sounding too panicked. He definitely didn't want to come across as some kind of idiot, but this was beyond his understanding. The princess studied him, and her smile turned into a faint, knowing smirk. I see. So your species doesn't indulge in your instincts, then? Her voice dropped lower, and the hint of mischief in her tone only made the human more nervous. Instincts? No. I mean, well, not like that. Humans, have evolved to, well, not act on every instinct. You know, society, rules, all that. He chuckled awkwardly, trying to mask the tension in the air. He could feel sweat beading on his forehead. Her eyes never left him. But I've heard humans are known for their appetite. Their desire for more. Her words were slow, deliberate, and she clearly enjoyed every second of making him squirm. Right, he muttered, shifting in his chair. So, about that meal? He gestured awkwardly to the assortment of strange, colorful dishes before them. I'm kind of starving, to be honest. Without missing a beat, she gestured toward the spread. Of course, you must be. I'm sure you'll enjoy what we've prepared. It's exquisite, just like the experience we're about to share. The human nodded, still trying to convince himself this wasn't going entirely sideways. He picked up a fork and awkwardly prodded a piece of strange, gelatinous alien food that resembled something between an overripe fruit and a sea creature. His stomach churned slightly, but he managed to swallow a bite. The princess watched him closely, her gaze steady and unwavering. I must admit, humans are fascinating, she said, her voice playful. So many cultures, so many ways to express desire. But I've always wondered, do humans truly only eat for survival? The human almost choked on the next bite, his face turning beet red. He sputtered, his mind still stuck on the last thing she said. Well, no. Not just for survival. I mean, yes, but also for enjoyment, you know, social gatherings, food is a big part of. She raised an eyebrow, clearly enjoying his discomfort. So you do eat for pleasure. That's what I thought. He opened his mouth, trying to form an explanation, but the words tangled in his mind. He could feel the heat rising to his cheeks again. Yeah? Sure. But I didn't expect. He sighed. This is not going how I thought it would. She laughed softly, her smile widening. Don't worry. I understand. You humans are so innocent. You try to hide your desires beneath your sophisticated manners, but I see through it all. Desires? What desires? He stammered, his head spinning. This was all way more than he signed up for. Who was this princess, And what did she want from him? "Oh, please," she said, leaning in a little closer, her voice lowering to a soft, almost seductive whisper. "Do you think I don't know what happens when a human gets close to something they want?" She paused for a moment, letting her words settle, before adding, "You may not eat like my people, but there are other ways to consume, aren't there?" The human swallowed hard, the meaning of her words crashing into him like a freight train. What are you?" He stopped, realizing how ridiculous it was to ask. Was she really insinuating what he thought she was? "Look, I don't know what you think is happening here, but I'm just trying to enjoy my meal." The princess continued, unfazed by his unease. "Don't be shy. We all have our appetites. And here, in my domain, I can offer you something that goes beyond mere food." She smiled again, leaning back in her seat, watching him closely. The human's mind was a blur. Was this a game to her? Or was she serious? This wasn't how diplomacy was supposed to go. This wasn't even close to the brief he'd been given. He just wanted to survive this dinner, go back to Earth, and laugh about it with his friends. But now, he was tangled in a mess of cultural misunderstandings and sexual tension. "Listen," he said, taking a deep breath. "I don't know what you're expecting, but that's not how we do things. We humans, we date, we—" He trailed off, wondering if his next words would make him sound like a complete fool. "We do things, but not like this. We don't just jump into whatever you think is happening here." The princess leaned forward slightly, her eyes glinting with an unreadable emotion. "I see. So you don't consume each other like I was led to believe. But you do enjoy sharing other experiences, yes?" "Other experiences?" he repeated, his voice almost cracking. He had no idea what she meant, but the way she was looking at him made him question whether this whole thing had been some kind of setup. She smiled sweetly, the tension between them thickening with every word. "Oh, don't worry. We'll find common ground. I'm sure of it." The human stomach twisted, though it wasn't from the food anymore. "I'm just here for the diplomacy," he said, trying to steer the conversation back to something more normal. "I didn't sign up for whatever this is. You'll find," she said, her voice dropping lower, "that sometimes diplomacy involves more than just words." He tried to focus on his food again, but the room felt suffocating now. The alien princess was still watching him, her eyes sparkling with amusement. It was clear she was enjoying the power she had over him. He wasn't sure how to get out of this without making things worse, but his mind kept circling back to her last remark. Maybe this dinner wasn't about food at all. Maybe this was just her idea of making him consume something in the most unexpected way. The tension in the room was palpable, and the human could feel his pulse racing. He had tried to stay calm, but every word that came out of the princess's mouth felt like another twist in the strange, absurd situation he was now embroiled in. The thought that had been lingering in the back of his mind, this dinner might not be as innocent as he'd hoped, was now undeniable. His stomach churned, not from the food, but from the rapidly escalating situation that he wasn't prepared for. "Look," he said, forcing himself to breathe deeply. "I didn't come here to misunderstand your culture, all right? I just thought we were here for a friendly meal, and everything's been a little intense, to say the least." The princess leaned back in her seat, her lips curling into an almost predatory grin. "I understand," she purred. "You humans are so used to following rules. Everything has a neat little place, doesn't it? But here, in my world, everything can be bent, stretched, and even devoured." She punctuated the last word with a slow, deliberate glance. The human's mind spun. The words, each more loaded than the last, were too much to handle. "I'm not sure what you're trying to say here," he muttered, hoping to find some kind of ground to stand on. "If this is some kind of test, or a game, I think I'm way out of my depth." Her eyes softened, though the glint of mischief never left them. "No test. No game." She placed her hands delicately on the table, studying him like a piece of artwork. "Just an exploration of desire. I've heard so much about humans, how you consume everything around you, your food, your passions, your relationships. She leaned in closer. And I want to understand it. All of it. The human swallowed, feeling the sweat on his brow growing colder. He had no idea how to proceed. Look, he said, trying to maintain some semblance of composure. I'm here to learn, too. I didn't know what to expect, but I thought we were here to talk business. Not. He stopped himself, realizing he was floundering. Not to talk about anything like this. The princess's smile only grew, a sparkle in her eyes that made the human stomach turn for an entirely different reason. Oh, but you are talking about it. And whether you realize it or not, you are part of it now. She glanced down at the food, and then back up at him, her voice turning slightly more serious. It's not just your bodies I want to understand. It's how you give yourself away, how you consume the world around you. It's a matter of connection. And I've heard that humans give themselves in ways no other species can. The human opened his mouth, searching for the right response, but no words came out. What was he supposed to say? He had come here hoping to experience something cultural, but this felt entirely different. She wasn't just talking about food anymore. She was talking about something else, something far deeper, far more intimate. And it was clear that the princess wasn't about to back down. Her voice softened, as if sensing his hesitation. You see, where I come from, sharing a meal is far more than just a physical act. It's about trust, vulnerability, and hunger. She paused, letting the word hunger hang in the air. And I wonder, human, if you understand that. Do you understand hunger? Not just for food, but for connection? The human's breath caught in his throat. I don't think I mean, I understand hunger for food. We all get hungry, but… He couldn't finish the sentence. Everything was spiraling so quickly, and he could barely keep up. She interrupted him, her voice more insistent now. No, not just food, human. There is more to hunger than just filling your stomach. Her eyes never left his, and for a moment it almost felt like he was being drawn into a different world. I am speaking of a hunger that goes beyond the physical. A hunger for something deeper. A hunger for each other. The human's heart pounded in his chest. The words hit him harder than any of the strange food he had eaten. He realized, with sudden clarity, that this wasn't a diplomatic exchange anymore. This was a dance, a test of wills and desires, and somehow, he was in the middle of it all, trying to figure out how to escape without making a fool of himself. He stood up quickly, his chair scraping across the floor. I need a minute, he muttered, not waiting for her response. He needed to get away, to think, to process everything she had just said. The air in the room felt thick, suffocating. He wasn't sure if he was about to lose his mind or if this was just part of the experience. The princess didn't follow him, but she didn't look away either. She simply watched him as he paced back and forth in the corner of the room. There was something unsettlingly calm in her gaze. You're afraid, she said after a moment, her tone soft but cutting. Afraid of what it means to truly give yourself. To surrender your hunger. To embrace the desires that you hide beneath all those social norms. The human stopped, his back to her. He could feel her words sink into him, stirring something deep inside he wasn't prepared to confront. Was it true? Was he afraid to truly let go of his instincts? To feel something beyond the safe, predictable boundaries of the world he knew? He turned around slowly, trying to regain some semblance of control. I'm not afraid, he said, though the shakiness of his voice betrayed him. I just didn't expect any of this. The princess smiled knowingly. That's what makes humans so fascinating, so complicated. You think you have control. You think you understand your own appetites, your own desires. But when it comes down to it, you are all just hungry for something more than food. You're hungry for connection. And I'm offering you that. Something real. The human's mouth was dry, his mind spinning with conflicting emotions. The tension between them was undeniable, but there was something else there too, a spark of curiosity, of interest in what she was saying, whether he liked it or not. But before he could speak, she added, And now you're going to face it, human. The question is, how will you respond to your hunger? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Instead, he stood there, caught between the overwhelming pull of the princess's words and his own desire to escape this strange, new reality.